Joining us now, Corey Lewandowski. Corey, the former campaign manager, the guru of the Trump for president nomination. He did it. He's the guy. He turned the lights on, first hire, put the whole thing together when Trump was 100-1 to win the nomination. I was there when he came down the escalator, and he ran the campaign, as you know, through the convention and then became a contributor with CNN and all that good stuff. Now, Corey is a senior advisor to Vice President Pence's Great America Committee, the GAC PAC, and he is with us now. But he's also the author of one of the best books written, and it's a great summer read. It's called Let Trump Be Trump. You got to read this book. It's so much fun. You're never going to put it down. And it's a great book because it takes you through the whole thing beginning to end, how it started, the idea, how he came to be, and the first interview he had with Trump. It's by Corey Lewandowski and David Bossie. It's called Let Trump Be Trump. You can get it at your favorite bookstore, or you can get it at Amazon, wherever you want. But buy it, because go to the pool, read it. You'll read the first couple of pages, and you'll be like, hey, this is really cool, and you'll not put it down. So you got to get that. Let Trump Be Trump. Corey Lewandowski joining us now. Great to have you, Corey.
Hey, John, it's great to be back with you. What a big week again. It seems like every week I come on your show and we say, the president had an amazing week last week, and here we are. It's only Tuesday, and he's had an amazing week already.
I don't know how he does it or how we do it, but you're right. The last 5 times you've come on, you've been like, wow, this is the biggest week ever. Now, this is the biggest week ever again. The Kavanaugh pick, talk about credentials, qualifications, and 300 rulings. I mean, the president not shying away from defending this guy's record, right?
No, that's exactly right. And look, I never get tired of winning, John. I know the president said we might happen someday. I'm not done. I'm not tired of winning yet. But look at what he did with Brett Kavanaugh. And if you have any inclination of just how good of a judge he has been, if you have any reservations, pick up the failing New York Times today and look at the editorial from his former law professor, a liberal Democrat who voted for Hillary Clinton and supported Barack Obama, and said that Judge Kavanaugh is perhaps next to Neil Gorsuch and Merrick Garland the best choice that Donald Trump could have made for the highest court in the land of any person in the country. He's a Yale law professor. He taught Justice Kavanaugh, and soon to be Justice Kavanaugh, hopefully, and he has the highest praise for him because of his intellect, because of his ability to understand the Constitution, adhere to the constitutional principles, and that is a glowing recommendation from a big liberal, which is very, very hard to find.
It is very hard to find, especially for the New York Times to have that. Look, I don't see this nomination getting derailed in the U.S. Senate, Corey. I want to get your take on it, but I think there's not a single Republican that is going to vote the other way or vote no on Judge Kavanaugh just because of his credentials, his record. There's no reason to do it. And I know they're targeting Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, but I think both of them at the end are going to vote in favor of confirmation. And then I think you're going to pick up 4 or 5 Democrats once they realize this thing is a foregone conclusion. What say you?
I agree with you 100%. And, you know, John, it's amazing to me because you look at Judge Kavanaugh, who, by the way, is 52 years old and has been on the D.C. bench for 12 years. If that doesn't make me feel like a slacker, okay? The guy was on the bench at 40, and I know he went to Yale Law and Yale undergrad, so he's a really smart guy. But you're going to see these senators, and what this administration did, which was such a brilliant move, is they made John Kyle, the former U.S. senator, the Sherpa for this individual, meaning the person is going to take him around the U.S. Senate and introduce him to those members who many of them already know him from his tenure in Washington. But very specifically, it puts Jeff Flake, the U.S. Senator from Arizona, in a difficult position because John Kyle, who was the number 2 person in the U.S. Senate, is from the state of Arizona. He knows Jeff Flake. Mm-hmm. He knows Judge Kavanaugh, and he's going to ensure that Jeff Flake is not going to politicize this, but give the judge a fair chance in the Judiciary Committee. I think you're going to get all the Republicans. I think Heidi Heitkamp is going to come on board. Mm-hmm. I think John Tester, if he votes for the judge, will have a much better chance at his own reelection efforts in Montana. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to see Manchin from West Virginia get on board. You might see Claire McCaskill get on board. You might see the senator from Florida get on board, who's in a battle right now with Governor Scott. Bill Nelson may get on board because this candidate is so superiorly qualified, there is no reason that we don't have 60, 70 or more votes. And, John, you have to remember, there was a time not that long ago when Supreme Court justices would receive bipartisan support and get 80 and 90 votes in the U.S. Senate, not 50 or 51.
Right.
And this is the type of candidate who should receive those numbers as well.
Well, let me ask you this, Corey Lewandowski, with us now. What do the never-Trumpers in the Republican Party have to say now? The Evan McMullins, the Jeff Flakes jumping up and down about Trump isn't conservative enough. I mean, you look at Judge Kavanaugh's record and the 300 rulings he's made. I mean, his conservative credentials, I just saw a rating today, are second only to a nominated judge to Clarence Thomas. So if you're one of these holdout Republican, never-Trumpers, losers, what do you say now?
Well, they have no argument. The Bill Kristols of the world, these Republicans who have opposed Trump at every turn. I saw a very interesting tweet today, John. I know tweet isn't news, but it was amazing. Chris Cillizza of CNN had a tweet out, and it said, if I know Trump, he's going to pick the woman because it's all about the look, right? And then he picks Judge Kavanaugh, and his next tweet was, very predictable, he picked Kavanaugh. I mean, these guys are amazing. And if you saw the text of the Women's March, they put an email out before the judge's name was even in the email, and they were opposing Judge XX before it was even out for all of the wrong reasons, right? And it just goes to show, right, how bad and how poorly managed the left is. They are so adversarial to this president that they can't see past someone who's superiorly qualified to serve in the highest court in the land. The conservatives, Leonard Leo, who was instrumental in moving this forward. I give credit to Don McGahn in the White House counsel's office.
Yes.
And all of the people, because, John, for the second time in this administration's history that we've had a second Supreme Court nominee, it was held tight. It was held close to the vest. There were no leaks coming out of the building, and it was done exceptionally well, and I'm very happy the way the administration got this achieved.
Look, I just got to ask you that, and I'm glad you brought that up, Corey. You and I both have been very upset about the number of leaks that come out of this White House on a continual basis, all designed at harming the president or harming somebody close to him. Have they now got that under control? Because based on the fact that no one knew this actually was going to get done until he made the announcement at 9:05 p.m., has things changed in the West Wing now as far as leaks are concerned?
I don't think they've changed enough, to be candid with you, John. And look, I'm very critical of the staff that continues to surround the president that has their own agenda and not his agenda. Right? There's still too many of those people there. There's too many of them that need to be purged out of that building. They didn't support Trump when he was running for office. They don't support his agenda. They don't support his philosophy. They think that they are the permanent government. They don't understand that they work for the president. But on this particular case, it was a small-knit group of individuals led by Don McGahn and a very small communications team. And maybe that's the problem, right? Maybe the difference now is that we've got Bill Shine, who's the Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications, who's instilling some discipline into the White House communications team, something that's been long overdue. Mm-hmm. And maybe he has said to them, if you leak out information, I will find you and I will terminate you, because Bill Shine is a professional. Mm-hmm. He was the co-president of Fox News. He has brought a professionalism to this White House communication shop that they have not seen since the day that Donald Trump walked into office. And I think you will see significant changes in that White House communications team coming forward. I
think you're right. And do you see a change at Chief of Staff as well?
Look, I think right now the priority of this administration is getting Judge Kavanaugh to be Justice Kavanaugh. Mm-hmm. That is going to be the priority. That is going to happen probably sometime in early September. And my guess is at that point, you're very close to the midterm elections. We don't know what's going to happen. I think John Kelly has been very public in saying that he wanted to stay through his 1 year as the Chief of Staff. That time expires at the end of this month. But I believe John is going to stay through the November elections, which is really not that far away anymore. And then after the elections, it would be a natural progression for him and others to leave the administration and start focusing on what I believe to be the most critical thing, which is the president's reelection efforts for 2020.
That's going to be the most thing. Let's get to the judge's ruling, if I may, at the southern border of the United States. We've got another judge now from a lower court saying that, well, the administration cannot detain children and parents simultaneously that cross the border illegally. Basically, we're backward at catch and release, which is no policy. I mean, that's what the president railed against during the campaign. I mean, catch and release basically is an open borders policy. But now this judge is saying if somebody comes over the border illegally, they have children and they're apprehended, they cannot be detained with the children. They can't be split up with the children, which means they can't be detained at all, which means basically you don't have a border. What's the deal here?
John, this is another classic example of a federal judge legislating from the bench. It is not the job of a federal judge to determine what policies should or should not go into effect and what the policy should be. It should be a constitutional issue. And any country in the world, any sovereign nation has the right to detain people who come into their country illegally. Why should we be the exception to that? I don't understand it. And here's the issue for me. If a judge wants to go and inject themselves into this discussion point and say, I want to change the way the rules work, then you're allowed to step down from the bench and go and run for office and become a legislator, become a member of Congress, become a U.S. Senator, and go and write the laws. Because what he or she is now doing as these judges, and we've seen them many times, is they're putting the United States at a disadvantage over other countries. And what we have seen is that the highest court in the land has overridden these judges numerous times on behalf of this administration, saying, yes, as it relates to banning individuals coming from certain countries, certain regions of the world that are problematic, the president has the authority under the Constitution to do that, even though multiple federal judges, particularly left-leaning ones, said he couldn't. When it comes to the issue of immigration, John, we are a nation of laws. We are a nation of borders. If we can't stop people from coming into the country and detaining them, whether they have children or they don't have children, then we are not a nation. We're just an open border place that is free for anybody to come. And once they get in this country and they disappear, and the customs and customs and immigration people can't do their jobs, and ICE can't do their jobs, then these people disappear into our country. And I've had this question posed to multiple left-leaning so-called journalists, CNN anchors. I'm willing to bet a year's compensation if they can tell me within 1 million people how many illegal aliens are in this country. They can't do it, John. It's not like I'm asking you to give me the exact number. Give me within 1 million. Give me within 3 million. And they can't do it. And if we don't have laws that stop people from coming into the border, we can't control what's going on. The first thing you do when you have a ship that's sinking is you plug the hole, and then you solve the problem with the people that are already here. And this president has tried to do that.
Right.
He's tried to do that by offering the Democrats an opportunity to say, you fund the wall, and I will help take care of the people who are here in this country already through no fault of their own. That is a very big step, and the Democrats have said no time and time and time again. And this type of ruling sets us back even further because it opens up the invitation for people to come here knowing that there will be no recourse if they cross our country's border illegally.
Well, they're going to be released. I mean, that's basically what the judge said, is you have to release them into the interior of the country. I mean, I guess the other alternative is to put them on a Greyhound and ship them back to San Diego at the port of entry and put them back over the border. And then they'll be screaming that, we're treating them inhumanely. So basically, these judges and the Democrats don't want, I guess they don't even want a United States, because if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. I don't know what their end game here is. Do you have any idea?
John, it's very simple, right? It's so simple. It's amazing to me. There is a process to come to this country. We are the greatest country in the world. We take in more immigrants than any other country, right? We take in more refugees, 3 times as many as Germany does. We get no credit. The liberal left thinks that, everybody, it's just free for everybody. Go to some of those border towns. Look at what the cost is for taking care of people who are coming into this country illegally. Look at the burden on local law enforcement, on first responders, on hospital employees. Look at some of those communities who can't survive anymore because they're required to have a significant burden of their taxes going to individuals who are in the country illegally. We're a great country. We have a big heart. This president wants to help everybody. But you have to have a process to come to the country just like you would anywhere else. And what's amazing to me is when you start talking about a merit-based system for immigration, the same type of system that Australia has, the same type of system that Canada has,
right.
Meaning, look, we're going to have a system for immigration, but if it's not based on what we need, we're not going to have you regardless of where you're from. The liberals say, no, you can't have that either. They want it both ways all the time, and that's why that party is so out of touch with what is really going on, and that's why their leader of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are looking down another devastating election in about 4 months.
I agree with you. I mean, look, the president's immigration policy, he doesn't want to change the number of legal immigrants that's come in, which is about 1 million. What he said is, look, if we have defined a need for pipe fitters and we have open jobs for pipe fitters, and there's pipe fitters in Somalia, they simply go to the top of the list and they get in because we know when they get here, they're going to get a job, they're going to get hired, they're going to be able to take care of themselves. They're going to get a work permit and they're going to contribute to society. Well, the Democrats don't want that because if they work and go legal and stay the right way and get their papers and finally become a citizen, they have a job, they're more likely to vote Republican. They want people in without any skills, no education, have to be dependent on the government, which means they have to be dependent on their party, which means they'll vote for them. I mean, it's simple math, Corey. That's all it is.
It is, John, but you have to remember this, John. Unemployment for the Hispanic population right now is at 4.5%, the lowest in recorded history since 1973.
Right.
Unemployment for African Americans, the lowest in recorded history. Unemployment in our country is at 4% right now.
Right.
That's basically full employment. You know, I think we've got 155 million people back to work in this country right now, which is an amazing number. We don't look. There's opportunity for everybody right now. But if we flood the market with illegal immigrants, then the people who have jobs that want to have mobility to go from one job to another won't have those opportunities. And I don't think it's fair to the people who follow the rules, came here legally, pay their taxes, and do what's right to be superseded by people who are coming here illegally. It's not right, and it wouldn't be tolerated in any other country. And I don't understand the rationale why people think we have to have a different set of rules for this country, which is let anybody come into the country illegally with no recourse. I don't understand it.
I don't either, and it's going to play out in the midterms, and I think the Republicans are going to hold the House and gain a lot of seats in the Senate, 5, maybe 6. Look, we're out of time. I want to thank Corey Lewandowski for being with us. You've got to read Corey's book, Let Trump Beat Trump. Corey Lewandowski and Dave Bossie, they were there at the beginning. They recount the whole campaign. It is such a fun read, but you're going to learn a lot. You're going to cry. You're going to laugh. And it's great summer reading. Let Trump Beat Trump. You can get it on Amazon or B. Dalton Bookstore. Whatever your favorite bookstore is, available everywhere. Let Trump Beat Trump by Corey Lewandowski. Hey, Corey, thanks for being with us, man. Really, really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you over the next several days. Thank you so much.
John, my pleasure. And don't forget, next week will be another great week because the president's going to NATO today, and he's going to demand other nations pay their fair share, something that he pledged in the campaign, something he's holding to. Promise made, promise kept.